So, we start.
Yeah. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning. Tell me, what's an Italian doing in Denmark?
Excellent question. I did my studies at the University of Bologna. I was studying computer science for my bachelor and master's degrees. And after having a fantastic time there, I was looking for a place where I could do a PhD. And that led me to Copenhagen, where I studied at the IT University of Copenhagen. After spending a few years in Denmark, I just actually fell in love with it. I really like the country. So my wife and I, we decided to stay.
I heard that your book, Introduction to Choreographies, it's coming out soon. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, that's a new take, or rather, I mean, it's something that, as usual in science, stands on the shoulders of many giants who have worked on the topic. But the book summarizes and systematically analyzes this new method and new take on how we can represent distributed coordination in distributed systems, cloud computing, and the like by using languages to describe choreographies, these distributed coordination plans explicitly, and then how we can use mathematical methods to relate these choreographies to correct implementations, such that we focus on describing what we want our distributed systems to do, the data exchanges that they should perform, and then how we can actually make it happen correctly.
Nice. I also heard that you developed a programming language called Jolie. Is it French? Why is it called like that?
It's yeah, there it is. We take our Jolie language very seriously in our group. So it's called like that because of two reasons actually. So the first one is that it's based on Java. So we were desperately looking for something that starts with a J and makes a sense, right? And at the time when we made the first implementation, we found an acronym. It was very popular to do lots of acronyms, and it stood for Java Orchestration Language Interpreter Engine. After a while, we decided that's such a dumb acronym. Let's drop it. But luckily, Jolie also stands for pretty in French, so we kept the name.
What does it do exactly?
It's a language for programming microservices. It promotes and encourages an approach that I like to call structured microservice programming. So it offers native linguistic constructs or programming primitives, if you like, for writing a service, the API that it offers, how it offers it, for example, through the HTTP protocol or a binary protocol or a local memory channel, and then borrowing constructs from theories known as process calculus. It allows you to write the structured behavior that the service is supposed to implement. And we developed the language for this kind of things because it forces you, it puts you on rails, right? So it forces you to follow some good principles for the programming of microservices, whereas in other languages that are aimed at different paradigms, it is easy to get off these rails, a bit too easy for our taste at least, and program something that doesn't respect these good principles.
And what does your work have to do with Nuvolaris?
So I see Jolie and Nuvolaris as very complementary. Jolie is a language made to make the programming of cloud native applications and microservices in general easier, as simple as it can get, at least, or at least as simple as we could see it could be made simple. And Nuvolaris is the same for cloud deployment and managing the deployment of your cloud architecture. So I see them as having very similar aims. It's just that one focuses on how do we develop good software aimed aimed at cloud deployment in the simplest and most elegant way, and Nuvolaris is about how do we actually do the deployment and how do we execute this software written to be executed on the cloud as simply as possible.
Do you collaborate with Nuvolaris team? What's your role?
Yeah, we talk a lot about how Nuvolaris could and should be adopted in industry. I'm a professor in Denmark of computer science, so I help defining some interesting projects for students based on Nuvolaris. Um, we also talk about the future developments of Nuvolaris, and we work together on integrating Nuvolaris with some of the technologies that I deeply care about. For example, Jolie. And in the future, I also plan on introducing choreographic technology into Nuvolaris to help people with monitoring their software and checking that it does what it is supposed to.
I've been told that you came in contact with Nuvolaris through your brother, who encountered Michaela's work by chance. Can you tell us the story?
Yeah, well, my brother, I guess you could call us a little cloud family because my brother also works with cloud technology in the industry, and he's my older brother. I still remember looking at him while he was working on computers, so I would look from behind, checking on what he would be doing. And my brother has this knack for getting out on the internet and finding out about all the latest technologies that people are experimenting with, and he works with the cloud deployment daily. So one day he found out about Nuvolaris and the promise that it makes about making cloud deployment easier. So he started playing around with it, and he went so far playing with it actually that he made a prototype integration of our Jolie programming language with Nuvolaris. So one day he contacted me saying, "Hey Fabrizio, I found this thing. It's quite nice. It's called Nuvolaris, and uh, and it was so easy to get started with it. So I made this little prototype, and now I need some help. I have this little issue. How should I deal with it in Jolie?" So I saw these messages that my brother left me. We were chatting, and then we had a call, and I was like, okay, let me just look at it. Let me look at the code. And I downloaded what my brother was doing. I had a look at the online documentation of Nuvolaris, and getting started was so easy. I mean, it took me, I think, less than half an hour to get everything set up, and I could start hacking and helping my brother out. And it felt like so simple and such a great experience that I really started thinking, okay, I think they're onto something here.
So, what attracted you to Nuvolaris is that because it's easy for you?
Yeah, definitely. I I think that distributed systems, cloud technologies, even the Internet of Things and the edge computing are something that is very, very important for our society, especially modern society where we have a lot of digital services. Companies are striving to put their products on these systems. And unfortunately, it's really too hard. They have to acquire too many specialized skills to do it. So the job of being a software developer today is becoming more and more complicated to a way that doesn't leave me satisfied. It doesn't really scale with what modern businesses need to do. So Nuvolaris actually hits that spot very nicely because it makes the cloud as simple almost as if it were your own local computer. We are used now to having these modern operating systems where you run multiple applications and you don't need to really think about how they live together in the same computer, even though they run together in parallel, right? And this is because of the magic that the operating system does for us. It has this beautiful layer of abstraction that developers really, well, at least most developers don't even need to think about. They rely on the abstraction, and the implementation is just magic to them. And I think this is what we should strive to have for the cloud as well. It should be as simple as launching an application in our local computer if we really want businesses to scale up and also public organizations to scale up to using the cloud to its full potential and to host their own clouds if they want to, or connect to clouds offered by other providers, and also switch between them. And this is something that Nuvolaris helps them doing.
And how do you see the future of serverless?
Well, basically, continuing on what I've already said, I think that serverless has the potential to become a new way of managing our applications, where we stop focusing on the specific computers that are running our software. And instead, we just leave that important detail, but still a detail sometimes, to management infrastructures and software like Nuvolaris, which uses very standard technologies to do it, but is sort of the nice interface to use them. These tools have been recognized to be too complicated for many years now, and Nuvolaris plays this crucial role of making them usable to the average developer.
How do you see the present of serverless?
I see it as complicated. So basically, what we have right now is something that can work, but to unlock its full potential, you need deep technical skills that not a lot of people have, and these skills are unfortunately required of many people. So not just the people who manage the infrastructure, but also the people who develop the features of the software sometimes. So I see it as something with a very high potential, and it is used by some companies to its full potential, but it is inaccessible to most because of the high level of complexity, because of all these different tools that you need to get accustomed to, because of all this knowledge that you need to acquire in order to maintain cloud software and develop cloud native software correctly. So it's a bit like having a big candy store window in front of you, but you don't have access to actually reaching out with your hand and get the candy for yourself for a lot of companies.
Do you think that companies should adopt Nuvolaris and why?
Definitely. If for nothing else, at least they should play with it a little bit, just to get a sense of how easy the cloud can be for them, and how easy it can become to make a cloud native software by means of Nuvolaris and deploying it. I think that especially companies that are starting up new cloud projects, they should definitely have a look at Nuvolaris, especially because it gives you this advantage of not falling into the trap of vendor lock-in. When you develop software and deploy it by using Nuvolaris, you can change your mind about the cloud provider that you're going to use later on, which I think is a really smart business decision. So you're not just getting the advantage of lowering the cost of developing your cloud software, you are also in the long run getting this advantage of being able to switch from one cloud provider to another, or maybe even using many of them, if whatever is more convenient for your business.
Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I hope that people will understand better why Nuvolaris is a good opportunity for everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Laura. The pleasure was all mine.